Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jacob, and welcome back to Dressed Rehearsal, the podcast where Broadway and fashion take center stage, and we dive deep on the roles that shape us on stage and off. Today's guest, Brooke Simpson, is a powerhouse vocalist who made her Broadway debut in the reimagined 1776, where a show all about the founding of our nation was played entirely by a multiracial cast of female, transgender, and non-binary actors. Brooke is now starring as Cleo off-Broadway in Blood Love, a vampire rock opera full of glam, diva vocals, and a whole lot of blood. Brooke is a proud member of the Haliwa-Saponi Tribe and is widely known for being a top 3 finalist on The Voice, Team Miley, of course, and a top 4 finalist on America's Got Talent. In today's conversation, we dive into Brooke's journey from recording artist to theater and how her fashion has helped her claim her artistic identity. Please enjoy this conversation with Brooke Simpson. And welcome Brooke Simpson to the podcast. How are you, Brooke?
Hi, I am so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you here. We
Thank you.
start every episode with, when did you get bit by the theater bug?
Oh my gosh, honestly, I got bit by the theater bug. What year did Cats come on VHS?
Oh, sure. And you know what? It's a Cats Renaissance, so it's
Yeah,
perfect timing.
honey, I know. I need to get my tickets to see the Jellicle Ball.
Run.
Yes, yes. I'm so excited to see it. But honestly, whatever year or era that was, because I know I was still watching VHS, that's when I knew, and I didn't think for the longest time it would be a reality just because I didn't go to school for it. I focused mainly on music because that encompassed most of my life. So I was like, okay, always wanted to try acting, but like, let me not go where I don't know where I'm doing. And
Sure.
then honey, which I'm sure we'll get more into it later, but 1776 just happened to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I will tell you, you are looking at a bomb ballerina in the Cats at the Broward Center, circa 2009, perhaps.
Oh,
It,
purr.
it was a star turn. People are still talking about it, of course.
Of course.
Well, I do think something really interesting about the music industry is like trying to find what style is going to be your lane. And I know
Mhm.
you tried like different genres and kind of tried to find yourself within that. And so I'm curious, like, what your relationship with music, how it shifted once you found like this is my personal style.
I feel like growing up as a kid, my fashion sense changed as much as like what phase I was in musically because I
Mhm.
always had an eclectic style, but for some reason as a kid I had this terrible belief that I had to stick to one thing. So when I was like in my Avril Lavigne phase, I was wearing all black, trying to be super grunge, had a skateboard even though I was terrified of it, and I picked up guitar
It's a
lessons.
good prop.
Yeah, exactly. I went through my Christina Aguilera slash Tina Turner phase at the same time, and I would put on concerts for my parents in the living room and
Mhm.
try to just be the biggest diva I could.
I
Went
like the
through a
range
Carrie,
there.
yeah, thank you. Went through a
Mhm.
Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert phase. Thought I was going to
Mm.
be, the next brown country sensation, and then like the Destiny's Child phase, which kind of stuck. So my musical taste has always been so eclectic, and I feel like even in my songwriting, that's kind of reflected. But I guess pop music and R&B kind of has always spoken the loudest to me.
Hmm.
You know?
And I think it's a cool moment where you see a lot of singer-songwriters that are coming into the musical theater space. You look at
Mm-hmm.
like the Sarah Bareilles waitresses, you look at like
Yes.
Jennifer Nettles from Sugarland having a show that's like coming
Yeah.
soon to New York. Like it's a really cool crossover. And I'm curious if there are other recording artists that you're like, come on, we need them in musical theater, like bring them over.
Yeah, my first immediate thought, like, and, sorry for the mean girls of it all, but I would love to see a couple people come back. Like, I know she was only here for 2 seconds, but I would love for Miss Sabrina Carpenter to come back,
Hmm.
because the pandemic just cut that way too short.
Yeah.
And then I would love for Renee to come back.
We
I,
need
I
Renee
know
Rapp.
she maybe doesn't want to, but I would love for her to. Her voice and her acting, she's just iconic. But honestly, I feel like my brain is mostly going to a bunch of like theater actors I've met like through different readings and workshops that I've done, or even like some of the acting classes that I've been taking since moving to the city. And I'm just thinking of those are the people that I'm dying to see in something, you
Yeah.
know?
I
Yeah.
will say, Miss Renee does go back and forth because I went to her concert like 2, 3 years ago, and she brought out
Mhm.
Lizzie McAlpine, and they sang "For Good" from Wicked, and I was like,
Ah, I saw that on TikTok.
and I
Yeah.
was like, well, yes, this is what the people want. And
Yeah.
I think she was talking about like a panel or something, and Renee was like going on about how she's so grateful that theater was her start, that like a collaborative art form was where she started because being a
Hmm.
pop star can be so isolating.
Yes.
And so I think the chances are growing to get Miss Renee back.
Yeah. I think the bug is gonna bite her again.
I think so. We just have to manifest it into the universe enough, and
Yes.
then she'll slowly come back.
Yes. We'll lure her back in with the manifesting of it all.
Exactly. But I do want to talk about your Broadway debut in
Yeah.
1776 and kind of like what led you to make that pivot into theater.
Honestly, 1776 happening was such like a God thing. Like it was like the universe just aligning all the stars because it was a really hard time in my life. I loved being on The Voice back in 2017. It was iconic. It was one of the first times I was ever in front of like that large of an audience. So it was the largest platform I had been on at that point, and so grateful. And they did so much preparation ahead of time, but I wish they prepared us for like what to expect after, you know? So I kind of was in this weird place of trying to navigate my independent artist life in LA, which is like the easiest city to become jaded in.
Yes.
I was just unhappy as a human, and in a relationship I was unhappy in, and it was just kind of like a dark time. And I got a random email from my manager saying, listen, I don't care what your answer is. I'm just letting you know it has to be yes. Now read the email. And it was
Okay.
from someone from Diane Paulus's team saying that she had been a fan of me since she saw me on The Voice and was working on a project that she would love an Indigenous voice to be a part of. So I did a self-tape audition, my very first one ever, and went from there to doing an in-person audition to going to the reading. And it just kind of snowballed from there. But that entire experience just changed my entire life, and opened up a whole new world of creativity for me and all new doors. Yeah.
I mean, look at Diane Paulus. She's got Sarah Bareilles and Waitress. She's pulling in all these vocalists and bringing
Yes.
them back to musical theater.
Yes, she is. I'm telling you, I actually saw her recently at a presentation for a workshop I was a part of. And I had to tell her, thank you so much. Because, I mean, since we met and that entire experience, I've now moved to New York. My life has just completely turned upside down in the best ways. So thank you.
Yeah, I heard Sarah Bareilles talk about on a podcast. She was saying how, like, when she was in the music industry, she felt like she was at the wrong party for a really long time. She was like, I didn't
Yeah.
know where I fit in. Like, I didn't know my place in that. And she was
Hmm.
like, once I started working on musicals, like, I found that this was my party and I just didn't know it yet. And so I think
Yeah.
it's cool when you expand your concept of who you are and you're like, oh, I can do a bunch of different creative things without it having to be my lane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely opened up, like expanded, like it almost like I always say, it was like black and white turning to Technicolor being in that room with all of those actors and watching it all come to life.
And that production of 1776 was no ordinary 1776. Can you tell us a little bit about like what that reimagining looked like?
Yeah. So that reimagining, it was kind of like looking at the story of the founding of America, but from the voices and storytelling of people who were not invited to the table for that conversation. So you had female identifying people, trans, non-binary, and all from different ethnicities and different walks of life. And it was one of the most beautiful things, I've ever seen come on Broadway. And not only just, I'm so proud of what we did on stage, but just so inspired by everything that just transpired in general with that show. Like it changed my life in the sense of I decided while we were in production that I was going to come out to the world. And I, went through a divorce while going through that process. It was life-changing, but in the best way. And I have relationships, like friendships that I will have for the rest of my life from that show.
I also read that you got to wear some of your own like family heirlooms in the show
Yeah.
and like as part of your costume. So like what did that added layer of your own identity mean to you?
Yeah, so something so interesting about the show 1776, again, it's about, America putting up its coming soon sign, but it doesn't say anything about its original people, like the people who were already here.
Right.
So it was super important for not only myself, but the creative team to make sure that we had representation of letting you know that we were here the entire time. So we had this moment at the beginning of the show where the courier, who was played by a Black woman, comes and gives me my medallion. And I put it on, and it's like we start the entire show by letting you know we were here before and we're going to be here long after. And I got to wear it throughout the entire production. And like you said, it was a family heirloom. It was a medallion that my cousin made for my dad when he was dancing in the powwows, maybe,
Wow.
I'm not sure, like 10, 15 years prior to us doing that production. So it felt so full circle, and it's so special to shine a light on not only like something that's so special to my family, but also to my tribe and my culture as a whole.
Right. And I think a really special parallel of your Indigenous culture and theater is just storytelling is central to both. And
Yeah.
so, how has storytelling kind of like informed the way you approach a new role? Because it feels like there's deeper kind of understanding of what telling stories can do to affect people and their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, what's funny is I feel like I draw a lot of the songwriting creativity and the visual creativity elements of my personal music from my culture. Like, there's so much about like the dances that we do, the drumming that we do, the style of singing that we do, and especially the Haliwa-Saponi Tribe. It's so influenced, or it's heavily influenced my music. But I find what's funny is what has influenced my storytelling the most on stage is actually like my mom and dad. Like,
Mm.
I grew up, my mom and dad are evangelists. So their full-time job is like traveling church to church and singing and preaching, and that's their full-time job. So I, being born in it, I like basically like came out the womb singing, like getting in the minivan, driving to whatever church in Arkansas or Missouri or wherever we're going,
Hmm.
and, sitting in the front row and watching them do their thing. And even though, I don't agree with a lot of the things that, I grew up believing, my mom and the way that she would sing with such conviction, and I knew that she believes everything within her soul what she's singing. And my dad, when he's speaking from the stage, like the conviction and the power that he spoke with, that's what I really draw from. And when I drop into whatever character it may be, like especially Cleo, I want to speak with the most gusto and conviction that she would. Yeah.
It's really cool to take the lens of like music being your gift to share with different people around the world and like
Hmm.
how that can be your kind of exchange of purpose.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about Blood Love, which you are currently in.
Yes, honey.
And I think a really special part of Blood Love is that you're also starring in the show alongside the co-creator, Carrie Renee Sharp. And
Yeah.
so, how do you feel like watching a fellow songwriter shaping their own music has kind of influenced your own process?
Oh my gosh, so much so. I feel like I learned so much from Carrie every single day, from when we were in the reading to the workshop process to being on stage with her now. I've learned so much as a writer and an artist. And also I've been so inspired, like thinking, God, I definitely want to add to my bucket list writing a show
I
like
see
as
it.
great as this one? So
Hmm.
we'll see what the future holds.
It's also a big sing of a show. And so, how is your preparation for Blood Love differing for like a tour prep?
It's so interesting because I've been on tours where I'm singing up to 15 like power songs
Yeah.
a night, and then, talking to people, having a cutie little drink, whatever afterwards, and then doing the same thing on repeat, and you're doing it for a month straight. And my voice is feeling a-okay every day, but there's something about not only, singing harmonies here and there, but also two huge powerful songs, and then also dancing throughout the entire 90-minute show, and having haze and huge LED screens running the entire time, and you're on a revolving turntable stage. Like, something about that makes it really difficult.
Yeah.
So it's definitely requires a lot of discipline. Like, there are so many hangouts that I feel so much FOMO because at this time I can't go. I have to be on my granny schedule and go to bed as early as I can, sleep as late as I can, drink as much water, making sure that when I'm speaking from a good, healthy place. All of those things are keeping me in shape.
The turntable is sick. Like it's just such a spectacle of a show,
Yeah.
which I think is it's really a feast for the eyes. Like
Yeah.
beyond like being an epic score, like you really are just like I don't know where to look. Like there are so many things
Yeah.
happening. And on top of that, it is quite fashion forward. And I will say, your costume I would wear in real life.
Same.
And how did when you put those shoes on for the first time, like how did that affect your process of kind of finding out who Cleo is?
Oh, so much so. I am like literally on my hands and knees just doing this down to Alex and Julie, our designers, because
Mhm.
they are geniuses. Everything, I remember when we first saw the sketches of what the things were going to look like, but it just didn't even compare to seeing it all come to life. And that was the easiest part of stepping into Cleo and really dropping into character because everything about what they designed for her to wear, it fit perfectly with like who she is. Yeah, the costume definitely was the cherry on top to making everything come to life.
But isn't that so validating that like your perception of who she was is the same as like the creative team?
Yes,
Hmm.
very much so. Like even before I saw the sketches and some of the language that they were, because they were very communicative, like in the process leading up to us doing the whole dang thing,
Hmm.
which I so appreciated, like us being involved in like if we had certain opinions of what the makeup look or the hair look or the outfits even should be or what we are inspired by. But everything that they were saying, even before I saw sketches, were aligning with my mood boards for Cleo. So I was like, honey, you have this. Go ahead. I don't have any notes.
I will say I listened to Finestraza on a podcast who was in John Proctor's The Villain, and part of her process of like creating a character is she'll sketch out like she's an artist, like a 2D, 3D artist, and she'll like
Yeah.
draw her character and who she envisions that woman to be. And
Wow.
her costume was exactly the same as like what she had visualized for herself and like drawn out. And she was like, "Oh, that's how I know that I'm tapped into exactly what I need to
Yes.
be doing."
And the
Yeah.
designer hadn't even seen it.
No.
Oh,
And
iconic.
she like brought it to the designer and was like, "Hi, look at this." Like how crazy for us to
Ah,
like be on the same wavelength.
same wavelength. That's how
The
you know it was meant to
synergy.
be. Yes.
You are not the only one in the show with epic costumes. Is there someone else in the show that you're like, "Oh, I would like to not only trade costumes with you, but like I would like to take this home with me."
You know, so if I had to choose like an overall wardrobe, it
Yes.
would still be Cleo's.
Right.
Like I'm because like I don't dress as femme as she does all the time, but for the days when I'm feeling super girly pop, I
Mhm.
definitely want everything that Cleo owns. However, there are other little pieces here and there, like Frankie, our bartender in the Crimson, the club.
Mhm.
You'll see her wearing a little red number sometimes. It's like a red plaid dress, and it's super punk but sexy. And the first time I saw that, I was like, oh, I if that goes missing afterwards, don't look at me.
No.
But that I'm obsessed with that look. And then also all of the advocates have this sickening Mugler, what do you call it, corset that they wear that comes to almost like most corsets you expect it to have like the heart shape at the top for a cleavage
Hmm.
moment, but instead it like makes almost like a triangle shape. It's really sickening. So definitely one of those.
I feel like if I was in the costume department, it would just feel like I would just look at like Bratz dolls all day and just kind of like
Yeah.
pull from that world.
Honestly, it low key feels like, especially some of the club moments, it feels like they definitely were inspired by Bratz dolls, plus like angsty punk, like
Yes.
my so-called life era. I don't know,
A
but
little Avril Lavigne coming back in. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
especially like the girlfriend era of Avril Lavigne. Hey, hey, you, with all the black and pink. Yeah, I definitely
Hmm.
think that was an inspo.
And see, Avril walked so you guys could run at this
Honey,
point.
Avril walked so we could run.
I also loved your opening night looks for both 1776 and Blood Love. So I'm curious like what your inspo was behind both of those looks.
So for 1776, just really leaning into the decisions we had made to make sure that a light was shined on Indigenous culture in the show, I wanted to make sure that that light like shined even brighter and continued on the red carpet. So I reached out to a friend of mine, Bethany Yellowtail, who's an incredible designer. If you haven't checked out her clothes, it's B Yellowtail.
Okay.
Sickening. But I reached out to her asking if she could help me out with an opening night look. And in Indigenous culture, we have like what we call a ribbon skirt that a lot of the women wear. And she gave me a take on that that was like a pantsuit. So it was like a ribbon suit. It was sickening, amazing. And with that, I also wore another medallion. So I definitely wanted to do that look in honor of my culture. And then for Blood Love, my family had just gone through just some of the hardest stuff we will ever go through in our entire
Mhm.
life. So I wanted to do that look in honor of my brother. And he also was an artist and just had the brightest light on planet Earth. So I just wanted it to shine as bright as he did. It didn't shine as bright as he did, but it came damn close. So I designed that look myself with the blazer and all of the embellishments.
I think that that's such a special part of fashion is like it's your outward expression of everything that makes you feel powerful. It is an art. Like that's why the Met Gala theme is like costume is art. Like it is just like an expression of the light that you want to share with the world. And so to be
Hmm.
able to like bring your brother with you for the Blood Love opening, like bring your family like heirloom with you, like having those pieces with you does like bring a strength to everything that you wear.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
I also think it's very interesting, like the fact that you were going around the country with your family growing up. Like, how do you feel like moving to New York has influenced your style, or kind of like seeing America, you're like, oh, I like that, and I'm gonna keep that with me.
Yeah, I definitely think being in New York has influenced my style in the sense of it's inspired me to like dress up more.
Mm,
I feel like it's so easy to romanticize your life in New York.
yeah,
Like even though it's easy to look at New York with the eye of like seeing the trash on the street or seeing the rats or
sure.
whatever, but also at the same time, I just walk to the bodega or to the train or wherever I'm going, and it's so easy to romanticize my life and just love what I'm doing, feel inspired, want to write a song. So with that, it makes me so easily inspired to put a look together and want to serve just walking down the street. I
Hmm.
don't know what it is, but there's something about the air of New York City that just inspires you, you know?
And it feels like a community of artists everywhere that like
Yes.
you can pull inspo, but ooh, I love it. Like it's like
Yes.
a Pinterest board in real life.
Right. And it doesn't matter where I am, I'm always going to bump into at least three people serving a look,
Right.
you know?
And it's like, oh, let me scribble down. Love that. Need to find
Hmm.
that for myself.
Exactly.
And do you have like pieces in your closet that you feel like you're going back to for just like harnessing your power, just things that you're like, oh, I feel good in this. Like I need this right now to kind of like be my best self.
Yeah, I feel like I go through different phases for different clothes to be that for me. And right now, not even together in a look, but I have three different pieces four actually, that I always go to. One is this blazer that I've had forever, but I've been wearing the crap out of her all the time lately. It's just a classic brown plaid blazer, but she's oversized and she makes me feel like a powerful lesbian, which I am. So why not feel like myself?
Lean in.
So I love that. And it just fits with anything. Or if I'm just not feeling the look, I throw that on. I'm like, it's complete.
It's the
These
aura that I'm going for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These tall black boots, I don't even know what brand they are, but I got them like thrifting and they go all the way up to my knee, but they're super comfortable and they just make anything look like, am I allowed to cuss up
Oh,
here?
please.
Yeah, okay. It just makes any look super cunty, you know?
Obsessed.
So I love those boots as well as other booties I have that I've had forever, but they look like they've been bedazzled with like a rhinestone gun, but I'm obsessed with them. They're like disco balls on your feet
Right.
and a skirt that I actually, when Playbill came to film our workshop process for Blood Love, I
Mhm.
wore that skirt for Cleo's last drop song. And I'm just obsessed with the skirt. I wear her all the time whenever I want to feel real cutesy.
What I do love is I feel like if you go back to like the Playboy archive like 10 years ago, everyone was in like Lululemon tops, whatever. And now people are curating looks for these press days. Like people are stepping
Yes.
it up and like
I love
kind
it.
of bringing in the aura of their character and like really leaning in. And I'm like, that's
Yes.
fashion. Like, yeah.
Yes.
It is really fun to see. And if you're a thrifter, they have this vintage store downtown that's all coats that it's supposed to be like your grandma did it better, I think is what it's called. And they'll show you the coats of all these different women and it'll have a picture of them with their name, their age, and like, oh, my first Christmas in New York shopping, I bought this coat. And it tells you, and they also have like this men's section of all these dandy men, like all these epic black men, like suits. It's so
Obsessed.
cool.
And you said it's called Your Grandma Wore It Better?
Yeah, I think Grandma did it better. It's in Soho.
Okay.
I'll find the
I'm
name.
just writing it down really quick so I can look her up later.
And I will say, in person, better. Okay, yeah, it's
Okay,
called
I
Grandma
trust
Did
you.
It Better.
Okay,
And they have
got
these
you.
and they have like these really cool like military jackets and like it's just also cool. Like I'm not buying these expensive jackets, but like
Yeah.
it's cool to see that there was a person behind them.
Yeah, iconic. I'm
Uh,
definitely gonna have to check that out. Thank you.
and it is just fun to like see your own style evolve over time of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm not that girl, like I'm not.
Yes.
And it's a fun tracker of your life and kind of like your artistry too.
Yes, absolutely. It's like you can kind of like follow the phases like a journal. Like, ooh, I know what phase this was going through.
That's so it's like when people get bangs and you're like, oh, things are not going well.
Yeah, no, they're going through
Things are
something.
not going.
That's so true. If someone chops bangs or just chops a full-on bob, it's like, oh, baby, I need to hear
Right.
the story.
No, literally. Like, let's sit down, let's have a therapy session, and let's unpack.
Yeah, it was worth the chop.
Well, we have one more question for you that we
Okay.
end every episode with, which is, what do you hope is your signature stamp on the industry?
I used to think really hard about this question, and like I feel like right now at the point I'm in life, I just feel like the biggest focus I have it's more so than like what I want to like my stamp to be. It's like I just want to be happy, you know,
Mm,
like and I just want to be content and like through that happiness, if I'm purely like truly happy, then when I'm on stage or I'm doing what I'm created to do, which is art in some form, then that light and that joy will exude and hopefully it's contagious enough for people to take it home with them, you
mm,
know? So, yeah, I guess that's my stamp, you know? Just
yeah.
letting the joy be contagious, rub off on you.
And I think when you're standing in your purpose, it kind of shines a light for other people to be like, oh, I need to get back to that. Because I see someone
Yeah.
else in their purpose and they're just so full of that joy that, like, whatever that
Yeah.
person's purpose is, it reminds them, like, oh, I need to be chasing that.
Yes. Freedom looks good on you. You need to try it on
Obsessed.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
come on over. Like, it's fun to be an
Yes.
artist, it's fun to be creative, and whatever that means for different people, but kind of just finding whatever your center is.
Exactly.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today, Brooke. This has been such a treat.
Oh my gosh, Mackenzie, it's been so much fun. Thank you for like the best conversation. You're amazing.
And that's our show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Dressed Rehearsal. If you love theater and fashion as much as we do, invite another diva to join the community. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, all the places. See you next time.